I also want to welcome our three supervisorial candidates, Al Golub, Larry Hine, Shannon Poe. Raise your hands, all three of you, or Shannon's back there. Okay, you'll hear from him later. They will soon be introducing themselves as well as the three.
Bob, you lost your eye. You gotta hold it up.
Mike has to go closer to your mouth.
You want this closer?
Yes. There you go.
Closer,
Lost it again.
You have to hold
Five candidates running to fill the
No,
one
you're,
of the
it's going in and out.
on the county? Okay, like an ice cream cone. On the county-wide ballot for positions in the Mariposa County Unified School District Board of Trustees. Kelly Salonen, one of the three candidates running for the District 1 seat, and Kim Monson and Robert Hill, the two candidates running for D3 seat. Unlike supervisorial elections, where only those in a given district will find the candidates' names on their ballots, the election for the MCUSD, which means Mariposa Unified School District, 3 trustee position is county-wide. What makes this particular election even more significant for D2 parents is that the trustee position for District 2 is also vacant. Unfortunately, the vacancy occurred as a result of a midterm resignation just a few weeks ago, too late to get on the ballot. In fact, the vacancy will be filled by appointment by the other members of the board due to a timing issue. I will now turn this over to Ms. Russell. What I would like to ask is, and maybe I'm stepping on somebody's toes, these are non-partisan positions people are going for. Hold your applause until 6:30 tonight. We'll all be at home and then we can't hear it.
Oh, thank you for the introduction, and it really is a pleasure to see so many people out for the forum today. I'm going to try to keep the wind from blowing the papers away and the questions away, and I hope everyone can see me. I'm a little challenged in the height area, but it really is a pleasure to be here in Coulterville. I grew up in Tuolumne County in a teeny tiny little town, and so it's always delightful to come back to a small town like Coulterville. So thank you for the invitation. But before we begin, I'd like to share just a bit of information about what? Oh, thought they were talking to me. Probably wanted me to stand up, which I already am. Now, about the League, we are 102 years old. We are a nationwide, non-partisan organization. We do not support, nor do we oppose any political parties or any political candidates. We work on issues that are important to communities such as yours and such as our small community in Tuolumne County. One of the League goals is to empower voters. We do this by hosting forums such as this one to give you, the voter, the opportunity to learn more about each of the candidates in order to make an informed decision when you vote. In addition, it gives the candidates the opportunity to display their competency for the office in which they seek. The questions for the candidates were compiled by the Coulterville Community Club with public input and the League of Women Voters of the Mother Lode, following state and national guidelines. We hope that the candidates will find the questions challenging. Each candidate will be given 3 minutes for an opening statement, 2 minutes to respond to the questions, and 2 minutes for a closing statement. The timekeeper will give each candidate a 30-second warning and a stop when the time limit has been reached. The speaking order was determined by lot and will rotate during the question and answer section, allowing each candidate to speak first. Every effort has been made to make this an impartial and educational occasion to each and every candidate, okay? If the candidates do not use the time allotted, we may be able to add a question or two at the end. Use the forms over by Paul Martin. Paul?
Paul's back there.
Oh, there he is. So if you would like to submit a question, see Paul and please return the form to him. I was not prepared for the wind, sorry. Each candidate has agreed to remain available after the formal session for a follow-up with you and to you may ask any questions, or if you have any follow-up that you would like to ask about, or any issues that are of concern to you. However, before that, we're giving the three school district trustee candidates who were able to make it this afternoon 3 minutes to introduce themselves and to ask for your vote. They have also agreed to remain afterward to speak one-on-one with any of you who are so inclined. Now, as a matter of courtesy, please turn off your cell phones and do not use flash cameras or motor-driven cameras. Please refrain from clapping, booing, cheering, or other expressions of support or opposition to any candidate during the forum. Now, the opening statement was selected by lot. Mr. Poe selected first, Mr. Hine selected second, and Mr. Golub will go last. All right. Are you ready for your opening statements, gentlemen?
Okay. So like this young lady here, I'm a little bit height challenged myself. I don't have a box to stand on, but I just wanted to introduce somebody to you guys that you may not know, and that is, she didn't see this coming, and this is my significant love of my life, Lisa. If you could just stand up and wave, please. So that's Lisa. Welcome to Coulterville, right? So the reason that I'm running is several-fold. One is that I was asked by many of you to step up and run that have known me for many, many years. The other is that I'm pretty dissatisfied with the direction of our country, and more importantly, the direction of our county. And that really entails a lot of different things, like the lack of funding for fire suppression, for roads. We've constantly heard over and over for years and years and years that we're the redheaded stepchild of the county and that we don't even have enough money in revenue that we generate to fix our roads. And I just don't believe all of that stuff. The primary thing that I think that we've really been lacking in District 2 really is representation and communication. And I've only been around since Lyle Turpin. He was the first supervisor that I ever met. And then we had, of course, had Merlin, and I think many of us were very dissatisfied with Merlin, and Mr. Sweeney was very short-lived. And we just never had that level of communication that I think that we all deserve and that we want. And so that's something that that I intend to change. So the one thing that has me concerned is that this county that I came to many moons ago is turning into Alameda County, or a county that it was never really intended to be, and that's very alarming. Like with the homeless housing and stuff that they're building down in Mariposa, I've taken a look at that, and you know, we all kind of want to help out people, but then again too, there's a requirement that they can't even have an income, so there's just a lot of different things. Oh, 30 seconds. So anyway, guys, I think that you all know me, or a lot of you know me fairly well here. I'm a fighter. I stand up, and that's what I intend to do when I become supervisor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hine. Excuse let's see. Our
I'm Mr.
next-
Poe.
Mr. Poe, my mistake. That's the first one I've made this year, so I apologize for that. The next one is Mr. Hine.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Larry. Is it working?
Yeah,
Okay.
hear you.
Shannon pretty much opened this up pretty good in every way that's possible. I've been in Coulterville for 15 years. Worked for the state of California. Probably I've stopped a bunch of you guys on the highway somewhere. And it's just an interesting thing. The roads, how they're being repaired by the county, I'd like to improve upon that by a lot. I'll teach somebody how to do it right. And the grading that takes place on the dirt roads is pretty sorry. And that's not the only things going on. Fire suppression and that stuff, you know, is all in first place to have something done with. So those are all great ideas. And the amount of funds that are available to us is yet to be found out about. So I guess that's where we'll go. So I'll go with that opening. Thank you.
Mr. Bullock.
Golub. Okay, it's a Russian word.
No, hold it right.
Right there? Okay. I'm not a politician, you can probably tell that. After you hear me speak a little later, you'll know I'm not a politician. But I moved up here in '94. I think that's what it was. Built my house, and I moved out here because I lived in a subdivision in Modesto, and I didn't want neighbors. I didn't want, you know, anybody impugning my view, and so I moved up here, and I've been here ever since. I really like it up here. I feel I'm one of you. Hope you realize that I am. I had a pretty long career at the Modesto Bee. First, I was in the Air Force. I was an Air Force veteran. I was at Castle Air Force Base. Funny, the Modesto Bee hired me after that. And so I spent a lot of years up there, but I got the opportunity while I was at the Modesto Bee to come up here. In fact, in 1969 or somewhere, I went up to the Bower Cave and I met the family that lived in the Linkletter house, and they were a brother and sister, and they attended the horses on the stage that came through Bower's Cave. So I know what being in Greeley Hill is all about. I feel it, and I hope to represent you, because basically what I hope to do is to educate you as much as I can about the budget system and how the county does things, because communications have been our failure. And it's about time we get off our backsides and go tell the other side of the county what we think. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to remind everyone again that the candidates drew lots for speaking order for the answering of the questions. The order will rotate so that each of the candidates has the opportunity to speak first, okay? The first question, Mr. Golub has. No, not.
You got it ordered.
Yeah, Dale is the one that
Okay,
gave me
I'll
the
take it,
speaking
whatever
order.
it is.
Okay. So if elected, how would you serve the community? Would it be a 24/7 responsibility, a full-time or 40-hour week commitment, or a part-time commitment? And how do you plan to facilitate two-way information flow between yourself and the constituents within the time frame? Mr. Golub?
Well, I've thought about that a lot, and communication is the problem. And one of the things I want to do regularly is meet with all of you, and I'll be available via Facebook, email, phone, because I published all of it. And I want to educate you on how the budget system actually works and what's coming down the pipe. Because really, if you pay attention, every couple of weeks, they run the agenda. You can read the agenda and see what's happening. Like next Tuesday, they're going to talk about the housing issue, which some supervisor seems to want to limit the use of short-term rentals. Well, we only have 40 of them over on this side, so I'm going to go over there and voice my opinion, and I think that's what you guys should do. I know it's a full-time job. Just reading the 372-page budget, it takes a long time, you know, and I know you have to do it 24/7, almost. And because if you don't, you're not responding to the individuals that are here. Thank you.
Up next, Mr. Hine.
Yeah, for me, it's gonna be a 7-day-a-week. Anytime anybody wants to get a hold of me, my phone number will be available. And we'll be on Facebook, and we'll keep things posted to whatever in the world that we learn from any of the meetings that we attend, and any events that are going on. I plan on attending them over here in Coulterville and Greeley Hill, so that I'm totally out in the public and available to anybody that wants to say hi, or just, I got this problem, or the egg's cracked, we need to do something. So anyway, that pretty much covers my end. I plan to be full-time at it, so thank you.
Mr. Poe?
Well, I kind of think it's just whatever it takes. You know, if it's 24/7, then that's what you have to do. What was the rest of the questions? Communication. I think I'm going to let you guys decide that, and it's something that we've been talking about in the meet and greets and stuff for 3 months now, is that most everybody, the vast majority, was talking about Facebook. And we can establish a specific page for that, emails, all that kind of stuff. But you know, the one thing that I think that needs to be done at the county level, and that is, I think that they need to come up with a modern version of the Board of Supervisors meetings being recorded and put it out on the internet where you can watch them. Because guys, I'll see you, Al, by the way, at the meeting on Tuesday. I agree 100% with him on the housing issue, and we actually had a meeting about that today. But I think that it's whatever you guys want, that's what I'll do. If we want to create a website, then fine. If we want to just use social media, that's fine. If you want to do emails, that's fine. Whatever it is, or all of them. I think that's the best way to go.
Thank you. The next question: what is the importance of ethics, integrity, and accountability in a publicly elected official? Mr. Hine?
Just being honest with everybody, and making sure that everything that you do is followed through, and you said you're going to do it, you've got to complete the project. Whether you're directing people or not directing, or whatever that's happening. So I guess that pretty well covers it.
Mr. Poe?
I should have sat up here. Well, honesty and integrity are the two most important, I think, elements that a human can have. Because if you can't trust somebody, then you really don't have much. And I'm sure that that's going to be a topic that we talk a little bit more about later. But I pride myself on God, family, country, honesty, integrity, and I devote pretty much my entire life to protecting her. So.
Thank you.
Well, you hit a subject that I know a teeny bit about. because I spent a 40-year career chasing politicians and trying to figure out what they were doing behind the scenes. And so all the people that I worked with, like I'm a member of National Press Photographers Association, which we're sworn to tell the truth, just like when I was in the military and I swore to the Constitution, we're sworn to tell the truth. And so I tell all the people that work with me that we had to live a life of honesty. I don't know okay. It's an angle thing. We had to live a life of honesty and stay out of trouble, not convert whatever, you want to talk about. And because we were investigating people and trying to prove them doing wrong, that if we were wrong, we were hypocritical, and that's not a good value. Thank you.
I think what has to happen is hold the microphone and not the cord part. Okay. And I'm not sure, it's a brand new microphone, but who knows?
All right, let's try it this way. If elected, if you were the dissenting vote on an ordinance or a new regulation, how would you handle the implementation of the decision? And if a local ordinance or regulation already exists that you disagree with, what will be the range of actions that you will take? Mr. Poe? You're getting your steps in.
Yeah. Boy, that's an interesting question. Well, I guess if it's something that's already passed, you're kind of bound to support it. What I do is support what District 2 people want. And it's just as simple as that, is it's not my agenda, it's your agenda, and I'm there to represent you. I can't really think of any other way to put it. I think that's loose, that's probably why.
Al, you're up next.
Well, it's a group effort at the Board of Supervisors, and you have to go along with what the other people voted, because it's a majority rule, just like our country. But you can still speak up, and you can be that one vote that says, heck no. I was going to say something else. But you have to go with the majority, because part of actually being a supervisor is getting to know the other supervisors and convincing them that we need help over on the north side. You can't just say, we demand this, or gee, this is what I think, but you have to prove with facts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hine?
Yeah, thinking about how that's put, because both guys answered greatly. It's, your one vote matters, no matter what. There's just one of us going to wind up over there. So whether we are a burr in their side and try and aid things over here, I hope that can come to pass. So we'll do our best. That's all I can say. I'll do my best to make sure that we get things handled that are over here, and anything that's needs to be done in a hurry, I don't imagine it can happen, because I work for the state. Nothing happens in a hurry. So anyway, that ought to just about cover me.
In what ways have you contributed to the various communities that comprise District 2? Al? He gave me permission to call him Al.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I volunteered for about 17 years for CAL FIRE as a VIP, as a photographer, and I've covered basically just about every fire since 1987 that I can remember happened up here. I volunteer in Yosemite. at the national park as a photographer, of course, because that's my talent, so that's what I do. I've also volunteered a little bit on an individual basis is to help people. I don't make a big deal out of it because I don't think that's what's really necessary. What's important, if you see someplace that's needed to be done, like every time I've given a picture to a function to sell or something, that's not really important to all of you, but I have volunteered to do that and other things. Thank you.
Next question. How would you describe your decision-making process, Mr. Hine?
He didn't get the, I forgot Shannon.
Thank you. I was checking to see if you were paying attention.
And you can call me Shannon now.
Great, thank you.
You know, this is one of my favorite topics too, because it's one of the things that I rarely talk about, but looking around the group here, there's probably close to a dozen people that I've done things for. And whether it be helping to roof a house or clear trees away from their home or, you know, whatever it be. And I always had one thing that I charged them. Never charged them money. It was always root beer, and not just any root beer, Henry Weinhardt's root beer. But guys, we do a lot of other things. I have, and even American Mining Rights, the company that I founded, the nonprofit that's based out of Coulterville here, is we do cleanups in the canyons here, and we coordinate that with either BLM or USFS. And we pulled 48 yards of trash out of Gentry Gulch. That's a lot of trash. But it's those kind of things why I like to do things for other people up here, because they're just genuinely good people. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now question number 5. Miss? No? Yeah,
Yeah,
Next
we're ready.
question.
Next question.
yes.
Oh, I was first, right?
Yes.
Larry, you stop here.
Yes.
Larry, you're up, buddy.
You're up, Larry.
It's a good thing we've got everything written down, huh?
Okay, well,
Tell them how you cook.
I haven't had a very big volunteer career in my lifespan because we were in the rock, sand, and gravel business for 35 years in Tuolumne County with 10 trucks, and it just didn't allow any time for anything additional. We raised 4 kids, and I come over here and I went to work for the state for the last 15 years, and then I retired a year ago. So, and retirement's kind of a funny thing. It's hard to get used to have a normal life, and it's just coming about. So basically, I've done a lot of different things over the years for people, and we try to cut firewood and move trees and all the above, and move my dozer in and out and fix driveways and things that need to be done. But anyway, it's extended view for volunteer stuff for me, so it's coming.
Yeah, now you're ready. Now you're really ready for number 5. And apparently there was a snafu in the order for the last question. So this is number 5. How would you describe your decision-making process? Mr. Hine, you are first.
Well, being a boss for 35 years, it's pretty easy to tell somebody what to do, but it's how you do it so that everybody stays with you. And we had people when we finally shut down in 2008, when it all stopped, that had been with me for over 20 years, and they cried before they left. And went to work for the state and had to tell people what to do and how to hoe weeds and do different things, and it's an easy thing for me to do, and it's also a hard thing to do. So I guess that covers my end of it.
Shannon? Is this fun?
Well, decision making, I guess it's kind of twofold for me. One is in a personal life, you have those decisions that you make that impact your family. But when it comes to what I see as the supervisor position, most of you probably don't know, I'm a former investigator, and I dealt a lot with white collar crime investigations and high-end corporate fraud and even government officials defrauding people through schemes and whatnot. And when you do investigations, you have to gather all of the facts before you can make an informed decision about what path to take. In this supervisory position, you would take that into consideration, but also you have to take into consideration of what you guys want, because that's what I will be doing, is representing you.
Okay, you ready?
All right, I'll try to keep it short. When I was at the Modesto Bee, I was on a planning committee for the whole paper. And we had to do a lot of decision making. So we had to analyze anything with the facts in many ways. We would always look at a short-term goal, a medium-range goal, and the long-term goal, because you got to remember, we got to go in the right direction. And in deciding things for this county, that's the whole thing. We have to make the county tell us, the other supervisors, what their policy and long-range goals are for the county. And that's how you make decisions. You don't make decisions. I've been a manager, I've been a field sergeant, and I can make them quick, I can do all that, but we're really doing decision making. You have to have all the facts, you have to know what the goal is, and you really have to know how it affects everybody that's within your purview of whatever your decision is. And of course, if I'm over there, I'm gonna remind the rest of the supervisors they have to remember about District 2.
Number 6, what are your priorities for District 2? Do they include increased trash services, weed abatement along local roads, other services? How do you plan on achieving them? Mr. Pope?
Good question. I like this one. There's a lot of different things. I didn't even know that the collection, we call it the dump, hope that doesn't offend anybody, but I didn't even know that that was only open a couple hours a week now. So there used to be money for that. There used to be money for the roads and cutting the brush around. I filmed all the way just 2 days ago, driving from Coulterville to Greeley Hill, and how many of those bushes literally stick out over the yellow line. It's astounding. There's money for this, and one of the things that, and I've talked about this extensively, I believe an audit needs to be done specifically of the money that gets sent to Mariposa by District 2. Every single penny should be accounted for, you should be able to see receipts, you should be able to see how it's being allocated to this department or the other. You know, you need to know how much District 2 is paying for this homeless building that they're building in Mariposa, and how that detracts away from the things that we need here, whether it be fire suppression or, keeping the dump open, or to why we can't have a volunteer fire department in Greeley Hill when we used to have one that was less than a quarter of what it costs us now to subcontract through CAL FIRE. So it's those kind of things that I think an audit needs to be done, and I think that that's where I'm uniquely qualified to do that, because I've done it for many, many years. 30 seconds.
Al, you're up next.
Just stuck a lozenge in my mouth so I wouldn't lose my voice. Oh boy. I have a whole spiel about the landfill. How the county, to save $8,000 a year, cut us to 1 half a day a week. And in Don Pedro, cut them 60%, to save, I think, $15,000 or $20,000 a year. So there's a lot of things that I see are wrong, and that they could, it's an enterprise fund is the reason they use it. It has to pay for itself. But the county does an accounting. The state makes us do an accounting of where our money is. So I want you to know, if you learn to read the budget, and if you pay attention to the budget, you'll find out where the money is going. But I don't really think individually that they're doing as much shenanigans is the fact that the CAO in particular is creating all these studies and spending money. He's ready to take $240,000 out of our ARPA fund, which came from the feds, that we're using to fix the sewer and the water systems, to do a study of his own department. So there are plenty of things to look at. Thank you.
Mr. Hine?
Well, that's a really good question, because I was at the dump and I talked to the dump operator. And he's getting 8 hours a day. He gets paid to come, not to come over here, but to go back.
Windshield.
Yeah. So he's getting travel time. They work from till noon and then he leaves. And then he finishes out his day in Mariposa at the dump. What's the other part of that question? Oh, okay. And the roads, I'd like to show some people how to patch some holes, because the way they're doing it out of the back of a truck is not the proper way to do it. And the grading of our dirt roads is done by some professional people, but I don't think they put their best effort into it. So those are some things that can be dealt with, and I'm pretty sure I can advance and help and make it happen in a proper way.
Thank you.
Next question. Is it gone?
Now, speak into it.
Nope, it's still
Gone. Oh, there, we're back. Next question. What is your position on commercial cultivation of marijuana and of both recreational and medical marijuana dispensaries within the county? Mr. Al?
What was it? Say the question again.
I'm going to repeat the question. What is your position on commercial cultivation of marijuana and of both recreational and medical marijuana dispensaries within the county?
I missed the first word. Well, number one, marijuana is legal in this county. Commercial marijuana is a decision that has to be made by the board and the community if they want to go commercially. It would take me an hour to explain the pitfalls of it. The only thing, if we did go commercial, it would give the police department a lot of money then to hunt down the illegal marijuana. We're right at the moment up, I can't remember the number of plants right now. It's 6 for personal use and 24 for medical use. I think there's so much marijuana around anyway. I don't know what we're gonna do to try to stop it, and if we made it commercial, we'd have a war going on, I think. So I'm not really too thrilled about that. It's not my issue, but I do know one thing, that 6% of our budget goes to the county. No, 6% of our taxes support the county's main budget of the total budget. It's 24%, 69% of our budget goes to the schools. So if you're worried about your tax dollars not paying for things, really they're paying for the schools and very little for the county government. They live on the TOT tax, and if you don't know that it's a transit occupancy tax, and all that money is gathered in Yosemite, Fish Camp, and El Portal. Oh, 30, well, I got 30 seconds. But anyway, that's where the real money comes, and that's where the budget is supported.
Thank you. Mr. Hine?
Okay, as far as having a marijuana dispensary, I would prefer not to, but I guess that's up to the other four guys too at the same time, so, because it's all of Mariposa. I don't know if there's a dispensary in Mariposa or not. As far as having it grown here commercially, that's another $65 question, and I prefer that it didn't happen, but in beyond our lifetime, this all could change, you know, so, but it is legal in California, so I would not be reluctant to maybe say yes later on, but at this time, it's not a grand advantage, I don't think, unless the tax money would help us out, which is a weakness, a way of getting money for our side of the world, but again, that's not what I'd like to see happen, but we have to wait and see.
Thank you. Mr. Poe?
You know, I don't smoke weed, and I didn't really think a whole lot about that until recently, and this is kind of an odd story, but our elderly dog, he's 13 and a half, got diagnosed with cancer, and we had a veterinarian tell us to put him on CBD, and I thought that that was just a scheme, and we did. He was given 2 weeks to live last September, and he is now 1 year and 2 weeks into you have 2 weeks to live, and I actually attribute a lot of that to the CBD. So, and I have a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, who I know his wife benefits from that as well. When it comes to marijuana, you know, guys, I went to college. I smoked weed back in the early 1980s. I didn't inhale though. But what we smoked back then in the early 80s compared to what is out today, I guess are night and day difference. It's probably been 35 years since I've smoked any pot, but so my concern is with, if it's that strong, how much of a danger does that pose really on the other folks that are driving on the road? Does it impair? I don't know those answers because I don't partake. I have people that I know that smoke a lot of weed and they kind of seem, you know, almost normal. But as far as the commercial operations go, I don't know that I would necessarily like to support that, and the same with the dispensary. Thank you. But again, guys, it's not my decision. That's your decision. You guys tell me what you want, and that's what I take to Mariposa, even if it's something I disagree with. My job as a supervisor is to do what you want me to do. That's a representative.
Thank you. Regarding the County Board of Supervisors appointed Citizens Committee working on proposed amendments to current building and safety code enforcement regulations since 2020, what result do you hope is achieved, and when and how do you think the changes might be implemented? Mr. Hine?
I haven't had time to think about that. Okay. Well, I haven't had really, I'm unprepared on that question. It's just, again, that's up to the people, whatever in the world that they want done. I guess that's what's going to have to happen. So you got me there. I shot myself in the foot on that question.
Thank you, Mr. Poe.
Can you reread that?
Of course, it was, yes it was. Regarding the County Board of Supervisors, it's number 8, appointed Citizens Committee working on proposed amendments to current building and safety code enforcement regulations since 2020. What results do you hope is achieved, and when and how do you think the changes will be implemented?
I'm right with you on that one, Larry. I'm not sure what that is. That doesn't sound like is that the code enforcement with the anonymous turning and people in? Okay, that's pretty bad stuff, guys. I handled a case, I can't tell you what city it was, but I was hired by a very large city, by the mayor, to investigate a code enforcement fraud case. And what happened was there was about 12 of these inspectors that would go out to people's properties, and they would go, okay, hey, you know, this guy owns his home. Well, actually, they would do a little research, find out he owns his home and outright, and he lives on Social Security or whatever, and then they would they would cite him and fine him for having trash in his front yard. Sound familiar? So then they would come along and say, hey, you haven't paid your fine, so that doubles, then it turns into a lien. Then they would approach that property owner, and this may be 3-4 months down the road, and they would say, look, I'll give you $65,000 for your $130,000 home right now to walk away. And that truly did happen, guys. People went to prison over this, and the city got sued. Actually, they got sued, but they rightfully gave a lot of money to these people that got impacted by this. That's my fear with this code enforcement, is that anonymous complaints where the county can come along and do whatever they want, find whatever they want, look for whatever they want. Maybe they're angry with you, whatever it is. And I honestly don't know of a single person that I've talked to about code enforcement that is for it. So, boy, I hope you guys don't change your mind.
Al, Mr. Al.
Like Shannon, I'm going to assume we're talking about the CCAC, the Code Compliance Committee. I have too much experience with this. Along with my wife and many members of the south side of our county, we fought the bad code. That was 2019-218. And it had illegal factors in it that were going to make code enforcement even worse than it is today, and eventually take people's homes away, which got me alerted. And of course, as you know, my wife's a lawyer, and she looked into it, and we found out it was really bad. So we jumped on it, and there are some members here that also were part of the committee. I even saw Shannon over there one time. We got them to not have that code passed. We actually started a referendum which backed the board off. And so my wife was then appointed to this committee, which is a voice of the community. And if you have anything about code compliance you're concerned about, you can contact my wife. Because we've been meeting regularly for over a year. And one of the things we've discovered, and one of the things that I'm in favor of, is amnesty. You got all these people that got BWAPs and all these other kind of problems. And we have to have an amnesty program that works with the people that are willing to work with us so we can correct whatever their failure of their property is. And then if they don't, they will do it, because a lot of people aren't capable of it because they're old or whatever. And the people that just won't do it, we got to do an abatement program. Oops, I got to stop. I'll tell you about abatement another time.
Next question. How would you, as supervisor, protect clean water for the citizens of Mariposa County? Mr. Poe?
Well, I guess Coulterville's got a real problem with water, and that's something I've been looking into quite deeply over the last couple of weeks. I think that there's a solution to Coulterville's water issues, but that's, I guess, kind of remains to be seen come election day. But as far as clean water, and it's something I know a lot about, is the Clean Water Act and things of that nature, and I'm surprised that we haven't talked about that yet, but the state has very stringent guidelines. California has some of the strictest water laws in the country, and a lot of the other states follow California's laws as far as it pertains to the Clean Water Act. So I guess basically we would follow the state's guidelines on clean water. The question's kind of vague, so I kind of singled out Coulterville, because Coulterville is the one that seems to have a severe problem with water here, and you guys all know that.
Really?
Okay. Al? Mr. Al?
Okay.
Well, it hasn't been officially adopted by the board, but Coulterville just got from the state through a grant program that we don't have to repay, $2.28 million to fix the Coulterville water system. I think it's wonderful. We keep asking the county when they're gonna adopt it, but for some reason, and I'm not terribly sure exactly why, they've stumbled a little bit. We were expecting it this coming Tuesday, but I've been dealing with Larry Harris, who has been railroading this. He's the utilities manager, and he says it's gonna happen. Water's a big issue. I've gone to what is the name of the board for the Merced Irrigation District, that we get millions of dollars that are paid there, or not millions exactly anymore, but we get at least $300,000 a year. And somehow the CAO has pushed that money into general fund. That's another thing. That's, the Merced Irrigation District money is for the water table that comes down Maxwell Creek, and I'm trying to think of the other tributary, but anyway, that Maxwell Creek, and then goes into the Merced, the lake for Merced. And it's a water table that we get money paid for. There's also $1.5 million. There's also $1.5 million hanging if we could come up with a water project that we could get out of them too. Thank you.
Mr. Hine?
I would support getting a few of our leaks that are going on around town and adding another tank up on the hill to make sure that we had some storage, a little more storage than what we're doing with. And I also might even talk the county into taking their water truck for their road use for the road department and filling it down at Bagby with river water or access out of McClure, because whenever they pull 4,000 gallons out of our tank, where I live on Broadway, I can notice the difference in the pressure just watching them do it. So it affects us in a situation, if you had a fire or whatever, that tank full of water that they removed might affect the fire hydrant that's available for somebody that needs it. So, that's what I would add, what I'd look out for.
Thank you. Question number 10. Who do you think is responsible for economic development of the community? Independent citizen groups or local government? And please explain your answer.
I'm first.
Yes,
First
Mr.
thing I
Al.
just said was I don't want to be first. Yeah. It's got to be the citizens. Government can help development. Government can help development by clearing stumbling blocks, but particularly our county government is not big enough to help us. We have an economic struggle here in Coulterville. The hotel burned down, the motel isn't being used. We do have, I met the man who bought the hotel and is planning on rebuilding it. And I'm hoping he can get the financing so we can start participating in TOT, and also for our small shops and things to rebuild. But it's a citizen thing. We have to do it ourselves. This is a free country, and that's how you do it. I didn't go over, you know.
Thank you. How do you propose that the needs, okay. Oh my goodness, I am, I don't know, it must be something in the air in Coulterville. Mr. Hine, you are next. It must be the water, someone said.
Let me see the question.
Who do you think is responsible for the economic development of the community? Independent citizen groups or local government?
Well, independent citizens, I'd say, but the local government's going to be involved in permitting or whatever that takes place, so they're going to take their part. It'd be nice to see. I can remember when all the buildings were occupied here in town, and it'd be nice to see them back that way again. I mean, as far as anything we have is all we really have is just the store. So, and it's good that they're open 7 days a week now. So we just have to go from that point on. Thank you.
I'll save you the trouble of calling.
The way that our government structure is supposed to work is that we're for the people, by the people. And so it has to come from the people. The government's the ones that's supposed to implement what you want. And that's the way that it works.
We're working on a couple of extra questions, and so that's kind of the holdup here.
Yeah.
They all came from the audience. So I beg your indulgence here. How do you propose that the needs and priorities of District 2 be treated with the same attention, priority, and respect as those of the more centralized District 4 in which the town of Mariposa lies? And Mr. Hine?
Not prepared for that kind of. Let me read that question again.
Let me read it to you, okay?
Okay.
How do you propose that the needs and priorities of District 2 be treated with the same attention, priority, and respect as those of the more centralized District 4 in which the town of Mariposa lies?
Well, the needs of Mariposa, I mean of Coulterville, are very necessity. I mean, having a medical clinic and things and the fire protection. I guess just I have to make noise every day. I mean, every meeting that we met at and say, hey, it's Coulterville, you know, and I'm here to rock the boat and make sure that whatever happens over in Mariposa can also happen in Coulterville. So it's been neglected, but I hope to open it up.
Thank you. Come on up, Mr. Poe.
So what is it that makes Mariposa better than Coulterville? Nothing. We're all part of a county. We're all supposed to be neighbors. So one of the things that I would like to see from District 2, and this is something I would ask of you guys, is to be more vocal, is especially on those county-wide social media pages, so they hear your voice. You know, we're every bit as good as they are. The only difference being is that they have the county seat and they've got more businesses, which brings me to another point here, guys, about this building permits, and I see that there's just almost like obstruction when it comes to that, to create new businesses, especially in this district. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily intentional, but good gosh, there sure seems to be a lot of red tape. I've talked to a lot of people just in the last couple of days that have nothing but problems with permits. waiting 6 months or a year to get simple permits so they can open a business or whatever it is. And it just seems to be that the county is interfering with that. So that's another thing that I think that we can do. But remember, guys, Mariposa isn't any better than we are. I think we're better than they are. Well, not really. We're all equals.
Mr. Al?
What was the question?
Because my brain,
Okay. How do you propose that the needs and priorities of District 2 be treated with the same attention, priority, and
Okay.
respect as those of the more centralized District 4?
so this is the, I was gonna say ugly stepsister story, where we think we're not as good as they are. We are every bit as good as they are because we're Mariposa County, we're part of their county, but we often are slighted because they don't pay enough attention to us. So I'm gonna tell all you how we're gonna do it. You're gonna show up over at the board. That's the way to do it. You gotta bark. Because when they were gonna do the bad code, we organized the whole county and we stood on their doorstep and said, no, you're not gonna do it, and they didn't do it. That's the only way. That's one of the reasons that if I get elected, the one thing I will do is meet regularly and share people how to read the agenda and how to read all this stuff. But one good, and so that you can participate, and you're gonna have to get over there. There was one good thing that Shannon mentioned, that was what a miserable interface the county has for listening to their board. It is terrible, and they use some kind of excuse like it wasn't ADA compliant or something. One thing I'm gonna do when I'm over there, you can watch if a criminal gets arrested and goes to court, and you can see a picture of them and hear everything goes on in the courtroom. But when you listen to the board, all you hear is on your phone, you can hear it live, and on the computer, you can hear it. I wanna see it. Thank you.
All right, here we go. How are you going to determine what your constituents want on every issue before the board? I'll just say that one more time. How are you going to determine what your constituents want on every issue before the board? Right, Mr. Poe?
So I'm going to try to squeeze a little thing in here on this last one, and I agree with both of what Larry and Al said. You know, guys, in today's modern high-tech environment, you shouldn't have to go to Mariposa. What if you're disabled, or you don't have a car, or you're financially challenged and you just don't have the money to drive to Mariposa? You shouldn't have to. You should be able to watch a live video and then participate in that meeting sitting in the comfort of your home. You should. So anyway, what was the question? How are we going to
Determine what your constituents want on every issue before the board.
So that comes back to communication and the lack of communication that we've all experienced for the last 2.5 terms as a supervisor is zero communication. So I think that that's something that we would have to determine together. What is the best method that you want to be communicated to? Is it social media? Is it a website? Is it, you want somebody to type up a big long thing, this is what's gonna go on, and then you comment on whatever page? I guess that's something to be determined. I have a feeling though, because of past experience in talks, that she's gonna wave the 30-second thing here at me. is that most everybody is on social media, and that seems to be the platform that they want. So, but I'm open to suggestions.
Thank you.
Mr. Al, yes, you are.
Were we talking about communication and finding out what they think and what they want?
Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I think I got the thing. That has been one of the preaches I've made from the very beginning, and that is, I'll meet you wherever you want to meet. I posted my phone number, I posted my email. I would like to, I'm a friendly guy, I'm not a hard guy to talk to. I'm willing to listen to anybody and find out what you think, because basically it has to be a communal effort. But if you talk to me, I'm going to try to motivate you to get you over to the board and convince those other people, because this seat that we're running for is only 1 out of 5. 1 out of 5.
Thank you. Mr. Hine?
I guess we're pretty much all gonna say the same thing. We're gonna have to figure out everybody to look on social media and if you can. And again, I'm open, my phone number's posted, and I'll make sure that it's available to everybody. And I'll make sure that anything that's very, very important, I expose it somehow or another to everybody, or to people that want to be involved in it. There's really not a grand answer here for this situation, I guess. It just, it's a new beginning. I'm not a politician, so basically I've held a shovel, so I know how to make that happen. But the good things are that we do have an availability of communications in our pockets and at home, and so I hope to be able to pass it on.
Thank you. We're working, as I mentioned before, we're working on the questions from the audience, and we're trying to make sure that we have the right wording and we have the correct number and the correct order of speakers. Yes. All right, here we go. Would you favor exempting mining activities from use permits when smaller than a defined minimal level? Let me read that again. Would you favor exempting mining activities from use permits when smaller than a defined minimal level?
Oh, you're gonna give me
You
first,
could,
huh?
yes, we're rotating.
Okay. I didn't understand what the defined minimum level meant. I don't know. But I'm not opposed to mining. I think it has to be done correctly. The state has plenty of regulations involved with it. Mining is our history. Mining is our history. But some of the miners of old weren't real careful with what they did with their tailings. And so we have to be real careful what the effluence does. I don't know what this type of mining is. I have panned gold in the streets of LaGrange with old Bill Keeler, who was a genius at mining. And I've seen mining everywhere. I'm not opposed to it, but it has to be done within the constraints that we don't destroy our water, our land, or anything. But I'm not opposed to it, it just has to be done right.
Mr. Hine.
Larry.
Larry.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it either. Is it working? Yeah. Anyway, I got in on when they dug up Jamestown, downtown Jamestown. We used to haul part of it away with 5-gallon buckets, and then I had to haul dirt in the next day to fill in the trenches for the pipelines and stuff. So it's all good, but it can't pollute our waterways or affect any of our waterfowl or anything, or the fish that are going on. So it just has to follow the laws that are available, that are made right this second. So that covers it for me.
You're a mind reader too.
I'm psychic. You need to give me your credit card information and I'll give you a reading. So I know a little bit about mining, and Mining has really been demonized over the years. Some of it's bad, I agree. Some of it shouldn't be done. But most of the old techniques that they've used, guys, those have gone away a long time ago. And you've got government agencies now using suction dredges like they did in Idaho just a couple years ago to create fish habitat. No kidding. So those kind of things, I think, first of all, the question is extremely vague, and unless it was defining what type of equipment and stuff like that, I couldn't tell you whether I would oppose it or not. There's a chance I would. I don't want to harm the environment or the water or the fish or the animals or people or anything else, just like all of you. But there's some very safe methods of mining that you can do that don't harm the environment at all, or actually help the environment. And so you guys understand that we wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for the gold that was found in this area. This was one of the richest gold deposits in the state of California, actually in the world. And it's the reason why I was brought to this county is because of the gold. So.
Thank you. Would you hold regular informal meetings here in District 2? All right. Mr. Hine?
Yes, I would. Either at the B or over here or any place anybody wants to inform what's going on at the board meetings, because a lot of people don't have time to attend them. A lot of people work, and some people can't drive over there, or they don't have the availability of the computer to look at it. So, yeah, I'd be more than happy to share with what went on, just like this meeting here, any time that needed to be done.
Mr. Poe?
Can I just say that the ladies here who organized this have done a really good job? Do you agree? Yes. Thank you, ladies. So, again, going back to I agree 100% with Larry, is we should be able to, in today's technologically advanced society, be able to communicate openly, instantaneously, and freely. They have things called Zoom meetings now that, I mean, you guys probably already know about that, but where if you wanted to have a group of people, you don't have to go to a facility and actually sit down and have a meeting. You still can, but you can do that through a video chat where people can do it conveniently at their home in the evening. They don't have to drive to it. But I think that, yeah, I definitely would have regular meetings just to get the pulse of the community. I think that you'd have to.
My turn. I think I said it about 10 times, I'll meet anywhere. But I'm hoping that Michelle gets the mine shaft open up in Don Pedro so we can talk to you people in Don Pedro a little more often. Tangled Hearts is great up in Greeley Hill. We got the Coulter Cafe, I'll meet anywhere. I think that's really important, particularly if I do get elected right at the beginning. We're going to have to, because we're going to have to know exactly how everybody feels about the issues. I'm ready to do that. I think that was an easy question for me, because I only said it about 5 times. I'll meet anywhere, anytime, any place. Oh, I do Zoom too, but then I'd have to clean my room up. Are we too quick for you? Thank you, you're difficult.
All right, here we go. What kind of assistance could be available to get into compliance when not able to because of a person's age or financial limitations? What? No? Okay. Mr. Poe, you want me to repeat the question?
What kind of assistance?
What kind of assistance?
What compliance?
That's what the question states.
Just assume.
I'll freewheel it, how's that? So I'm gonna assume that that's about the code compliance thing. So because somebody, and let's just take Terry, who I know right here, let's say that he has a disability and he has a home that he hasn't kept up and his yard looks like crap, and you know what, he gets turned in anonymously by a neighbor that doesn't like him, and code compliance goes out and says you have to clean this up. What happens if he doesn't have the physical capability to do that? Should that turn into a lien and then he loses his property? No. What happens if he doesn't have the financial resources to remove an old junk car? Should he have a lien and lose his property? No. So I think that's one of the things that I talked about from the very first meet and greet, actually is the first time I'd met Larry, was why can't we come up with a community solution to help people? I mean, we've all kind of been doing things for other people, I know I have, and I'd be the first one to step in and go, hey, you know what, Terry? I'll bring up my flatbed, maybe we can haul the car off, you know, and let's work together. I don't want to see anybody lose their house because a government decides that it wants to take control of all of this. I just don't think that that's right, and I don't think that it's fair. So as far as assistance goes, I think that we could convince enough people in the community to step up and help. Although there's some, and I know you guys know where I'm talking about, I can point in that direction, there's some that probably wouldn't take that, and maybe a different type of solution is required for something like that. Because there's some places that literally are dumps, and they'll never clean them up and they won't take help. So what do you do in a situation like that? I don't know.
Thank you. Mr. Al?
Well, the CCAC committee is already working on this issue, and I started to talk about it, which was developing. What? Which is an amnesty program, but also there's ARPA money. I don't know if you know what ARPA is, but it's some federal money that we got for COVID, and which is money we don't have to replace for the county. And that money is going to help people that are in those situations, that we can help them to get to the dump or whatever is necessary. We can call it a dump. I've been told it's a transfer station. Sadly about the transfer station is we pay more than Mariposa over there pays for our transfer station for each item. But anyway, there's money available now, or going to be available, to help those people. But the thing that I ended on the last time and didn't get to complete was abatement. The abatement is a different structure where legally the county goes and fixes the problem and cleans up the hazard, whether it's biological or whatever, and takes care of it. And so that hazard is removed. And then a lien obviously is put on the property for that abatement. But, 30 seconds. But it's a strong arm. The county has, in the recent years with the bad code, what they want to do is put a bunch of fines on people and multiply it, and force people out of their houses. That's not what we want. We want direct effect abatement. Make it an easy question.
These aren't my questions.
Yeah, these are your concerns.
Yeah, these are questions from the community.
I know, I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm not a code compliance person. I mean, some of the activities that are done are done haphazardly and need to be done with a little more thought. I understand piling garbage out, actual physical trash out of your house for 3 to 5 years alongside of the building and don't do nothing with it, and the rats and all that stuff. That has to be cleaned up. And sometimes old cars get left. Sometimes the old car is sentimental to the person that owns the house, you know, and He may not be able to bring it back, but he wants to keep it. You know, and the neighbor may be complaining, hey, that old car needs to go. Well, maybe covering it up would solve the problem. Maybe it wouldn't, but I'm open to working with code compliance to correct it so that it's not abusive.
This is the last question. The county public transportation system includes Mirago, a medical transportation system. North County residents are often told, sorry, no one is available, and there is no one to appeal to. As a supervisor, how would you assist your constituents with this problem? Mr. Al?
It's a little late in the day for me to remember the committee that you're supposed to report this to, but there is a committee to report it to. If somebody's having that kind of problem, I want them to contact me whether I get elected or not, because I want to deal with it, because transportation is an incredibly bad issue for a lot of people that aren't able to get transferred. When I first moved here, we had Dial-A-Ride, and my mother, God rest her, got on with Peggy Wyrick and rode the route just to keep Peggy company, but they were driving people all over, and they went shopping in Sonora and all over, and it was really important. It's an important issue. I don't know, as I said, I don't know the specifics of the committee, but I want to mention something about code compliance, and I may be out of line here. But one of the things when I first started looking into code compliance was the code compliance officer who delivered the letters to the people and wrote unkind letters and scared people in their property. And I want to put a stop to that if I get there, because I really think that's unkind, because never should we ever let a county employee intimidate people that are less fortunate, that aren't able to fix what their problem is, by sending them a letter and threatening them that they would lose their property. Yes, I could.
Mr. Hyde?
What was the question?
Sorry, I went out.
Okay. The county public transportation system includes Mirago, a medical transportation system. North County residents are often told, sorry, no one is available, and there is no one to appeal to. As a supervisor, how would you assist your constituents with this problem?
Well, the first thing is I haven't seen this bus, or I haven't seen this bus, so I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it actively pursued, because there are people that could stand to get a ride, and if it's not being done, I would do something about it. It'd be a priority to make sure that we had medical transportation for anybody that needed to go, that they might be single and they might be in trouble and they need a ride. So that needs to be addressed and made sure that it's available at any time.
Mr. Poe?
I think I'd want to know who was in charge of the program, and then maybe sit down with them and ask them why can't the people complain? I mean, that seems to be a fundamental right. I don't know much about that subject, and it's something obviously I think all three of us would like to know more about. I didn't even know that something like that existed, but for you not to, if it's there and for you not to be able to use it, that's something fundamentally wrong. And I don't know that somebody needs to be held accountable, but somebody needs to be questioned about that, and then open up that channel to where you can, actively voice your opinion and find out why the heck they aren't doing their job.
Thank you. Before the closing statements, Mike would like to say a few words.
I just want to say that, first of all, thank you all for coming, and I know that she's going to say that too. At the cafe, right when we're done, they will have music.
Closer.
They will have music and their microphone will work.
I'm going to hold you to that. Now for the closing statements. The candidates drew lots for the position of closing statement. Mr. Hine chose number 1, Mr. Poe chose number 2, and Mr. Al chose number 3. So Mr. Hine, you're the first for the closing statement, and you have 2 minutes.
Oh, it'll be short and sweet. Well, if I get elected, I'll make sure that I do the best for everybody, and I'll stay in communication with everybody, no differently than the other 2 people that are here. So the main thing that's important is you get out and vote and pick one of us, and regardless, one of us will do you a great job. So, and I'll do my best if it's me. So good luck to everybody. Thank you.
I thought we had 5 minutes. I wrote this elaborate speech. Well, I'll make this real brief. I think guy needs a muffler. I think you guys pretty much know where I stand, and I just want to say thank you to the folks that ran this. It was very professional, and I'm exceptionally pleased with what you guys and how you guys put this on, so thank you. Guys, I'm pretty much a fighter. You know, I fought for property rights, I fought for water rights. As a matter of fact, I walked 312 miles on Highway 49 from the beginning down there to the end down here in Oakhurst. And then last year we walked 349 miles for water rights for the farmers. We walked from Barstow, California to Oakdale. And by the way, it takes exactly 1 year for your toenails to grow back. I know that firsthand. But guys, that's what I bring to the table, and especially as a former investigator and being able to look at a problem, digging into it, finding out what the core root of the issues are and the problems, and then offering up solutions. I don't get intimidated, I can't be corrupted, and I take your agenda to Mariposa, not mine. Thank you.
Mr. Al?
Hi. I don't know how to sum this up. Okay. I feel frozen here because I'm in the wrong wavelength or something. I was going to talk about something that isn't very nice, about something that was said about me behind my back, but I'm going to skip it because I think that you've all been so wonderful and listened to the suggestions that I've made, and you know that I'm a hard worker. I'm going to work 24/7 at this thing, and I will do the best job I can. I'm an affable, approachable person. I didn't plan to be a politician. I planned to be a photojournalist my whole life, and here I am, and I thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the candidates, and I think that they deserve a round of applause for participating. So thank you. We now have the candidates that are running for the County Unified School District, and they too got to pick the order in which they spoke. Mr. Robert Morse will go first.
Is that my cue?
That is.
Thank you. How much time do I have? 20 minutes? 3 minutes? Okay. Thank you all for coming out. I know you're giving up your time to hear the issues of all of these